What if the best leaders weren't the ones that commanded the most, but actually the ones that served the most? Welcome to Vision Made Real. My name is Todd Marenshaw. I am an entrepreneur, leader, and believer that big ideas only matter if you take action. Today we're going to break down what it really means to be a servant leader and why it is the by far the most powerful way to lead. So servant leadership actually flips the script because it's not about power. It's about empowering others. And when you do this, you're acting like Christ. Okay, so the entire concept behind servant leadership is a Christian concept. It's not something that came from the secular world or anywhere else. This is actually a pure biblical concept. And it's become a big buzzword in recent years where people are saying, hey, I'm a servant leader. But most of the time, people don't really realize where it comes from and what does it actually mean. Okay, so Jesus set the ultimate example. In Mark 10:45, it says, "For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve." Okay, so that pretty much sets the stage right there. He didn't come to have everyone worship and serve him and bow down to his knees, but he actually came and he served others. And he taught us what it means to be a real leader. So the thing that Jesus really taught is that true leadership isn't about titles, it's about impact. And no matter what you believe in life, I don't think anyone can argue the impact that Jesus has made in this world. So the first concept, and probably the most important, is humility, putting others first. And probably the hardest one too. So if you're going to be a leader and for example, myself, right? So I have to use myself as an example. Um, you start your own company, or you're a CEO, or you raise up into a position of power. Um, the biggest thing for you a lot of times is going to be respect, right? It's going to be people giving you your respect, giving you your due, and by all means you need it. And trust me, respect is a big one for me. Okay, whether it's in my marriage, whether it's at my companies, respect is very big, right? But at the same time, humility is what makes people listen to you. It's not you demanding respect for them, but actually having humility. In Philippians 2:3, it says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition, but rather in humility value others above yourself." Now, how does this play into a business setting? It's a little bit easier when you think about how it plays into a family setting. When I'm with my wife, I want to consider her needs. I want to consider maybe if we're going out where she'd like to eat. With my kids, um, I want to consider maybe how they're feeling. Sometimes I'll want them to do tons of chores and demand a lot of things from them, but they have homework and they have things that they need to accomplish. And sometimes they just want some free time. So in humility, I need to be like, all right, let's think about them for a minute and make sure I'm not being too hard on them. I don't want to exasperate them. With my wife, I want to be thinking about what makes her happy. What's going to make her think I'm a superhero, not the villain, right? So, um, I want to be humble, right, in all situations. And that can be tough because a lot of times we are programmed to think about ourselves first and foremost, right? And obviously we need to think about ourselves. So I'm not saying that we don't do that, but at the same time, a great leader thinks about those around him first and really flips that script. So when it comes to business, how did this change for me? So when I started my business up, I wanted to make sure that everyone knew what to do at all times. A lot of micromanaging, a lot of telling people what to do, listening on calls, listening on conversations, trying to have my hands in every part of the business. Now, these aren't bad things in and of themselves, but I had to start thinking about, well, how does this making them feel? Right? Do they appreciate this? And a lot of times I can tell you employees do not appreciate being micromanaged. Um, so in humility, right, I needed to sit back and say, well, if you don't want to be micromanaged and I want to make sure the job's being done, how do we do this? And that kind of started my journey into talking to my guys, ladies, whoever I had working for me and saying, this is what I want from you. These are my goals for you. This is where I'd like you to get. Now, how do you think is the best way we can get there? And really listening to what they thought they needed to get to where they needed to go. Um, and the answers were different many times. Like someone would want to be left alone, and we do a once a week check in. And if their work is slipping or maybe their sales are down, then we can go over those together and try to figure out why. Some of them wanted daily talks. They wanted to be more accessible, real time. When they had a question or they had someone on the phone and they didn't know what to do in those situations, they wanted me to be available to talk to them. I had guys who wanted me to stay in sales. So even if I'm running the company, they asked if I could continue to take some leads and do some sales, just so I knew what they were dealing with. Um, and I'll tell you, at first, I was very reluctant to do some of these things. When I first got out of sales, when I had Allen Sportswear, when I started that 20 years ago, I eventually got completely out of sales. And I just did managing, and I had a team of about 5, 6 guys, and they used to just always bring up, man, we wish that you would stay in sales, even if it's just taking 1 or 2 leads a week, so you understood what was going on. And because I was full of a lot of pride, and I tried to say I was a servant leader, but I wasn't being a servant leader, right? That's a big one, right? Saying and being are two different things here. I would fight them on it, and I'd be like, no, I don't want to do that. This is, I started my business so I didn't have to do sales anymore. And I really fought the concept of doing this. Now, it doesn't mean you always have to do this, okay? Some teams don't care and they wouldn't want you to, right? But it meant a lot to my team. It meant a lot that I knew what they were going through, understood the objections better, and showed that I was one of the guys, right? And I didn't listen to them, and it cost me dearly. And over that team, which was an incredible team at the time, I ended up pretty much losing all those guys one after another, and it was really my first big failure, and it really kind of shaped the leader that I am now because of what happened then. Seeing how big that failure was, how I lost an incredible team that was well trained, who loved working for me, because I didn't listen to them enough, that I wasn't humble enough, that I wasn't a servant leader, really helped me to start my journey on what servant leadership means and how I can be a better servant leader. So all this brings me up to point number 2, leading by example, which is pretty much what I didn't do. So if you go into that same story, how they were asking me to jump in on there, be on some calls, hear the objections, and I'm saying, no, I'm not going to do that. You can just tell me because I'm too busy doing X, Y, and Z project. Now, I wasn't doing anything, but it was essentially a cry for help from the employees to say, I don't think you understand what's going on, right? The right thing to do would have been to lead by example. And if I did that, what I would have said is, you know what? If it matters that much to you, right, I'm going to do it. Even if I don't necessarily agree or even like it, if it matters that much to you, I'm just going to do it. Let's just see how it works out. If I would have done that, if I would have just done that one simple thing, I would have saved myself years of pain. I'll just put it that way. I had years of pain because of a dumb and arrogant decision, and a decision I made because I wasn't being a servant leader. My business would have been way more successful, way quicker. I would not have gone through half the hard things that I did. But sometimes we all have different journeys, and that was my journey that I needed to do. And honestly, if you look at my marriage, okay, so I talk about everything here, so I'll talk about marriage. Most of the fights I've had over my 22 years of marriage have been for the same reason. My wife wanted me to do something and me saying, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And it really mattered to her. And why not just do it? Like, even if I don't like it, even if I don't agree with it, if it matters that much, just do it, lead by example. If the kids are complaining that dad never helps out take the trash, okay, all right, you're right. It's your guys' job to take the trash out. But if it means that much, you know what? When there's a lot of trash, I'll jump in there. Let's all take it together, and that will go a long way into the complaints stopping. When people start crying out to say, "Hey, why? What about you?" Um, the answer should always be, "Okay, fine. Even if I don't want to do it, even if I don't like it, I might not even agree with you, but because I'm a servant leader, because I know it matters to you, let me see what I can do to meet halfway at least. Okay, let's do something here. Gosh, I would have saved myself hundreds and hundreds of hours of heartache with my wife and kids if I would have learned this sooner, right? And even now, sometimes I fail at this. Okay, I don't want to pretend I got it all going on. Um, and with my company, I would have kept so many employees around much longer if I would have been a little more attentive and shown them and led by example when they were struggling with something. Um, yeah, that's about all I got to say about that. So, all right, point number three: empowering others. Okay, empowering others is what I focus on the most right now. For me personally, just because my practicing humility, my leading by example, those are things that I've tried to do for many, many years now. And I've gotten better at them. Again, there's always room for improvement, but I've gotten a lot better at them. But the building others up is tricky because building others up, right? They say that there's the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I've heard this say a few different ways, but I would say a better way of saying the golden rule is that do unto others as they would like you to do unto you, right? So, a lot of times we'll treat people how we think we would love to be treated, but that's not how they want to be treated. They everyone has their own way of doing things, and so when you're empowering and building people up, it's really important to understand their needs and build them up according to what their needs are, and not just according to a blank script of this is how I build others up. Like, this is the way things are done. In Ephesians 4:12, it says to equip his people for works of service so that the body of Christ may be built up. Okay, the best leaders create more leaders. Okay, and when you're empowering others, you got to understand the ultimate goal, and that is to create a new leader, right? And that's why everyone's individual. Well, what one person needs, right? Maybe one person needs to be a leader needs more confidence in who they are and more belief in who they are, and so you need a lot of encouragement. Maybe for another person to be a great leader, they need to learn how to be gentle and to also think of others because maybe they're a bit harsh, right? And for example, I have a leader now that is really good, love him, and but he can tend to be a little bit straightforward, right? And people might get offended by that or get upset. So I'll spend more time with him, helping him out to, um, you know, be gentle sometimes, get the point across with a little bit, being a little bit more understanding and gentle instead of just being straight in your face. And it's kind of funny I'm saying that because I've, you know, I've not been a gentle person most of my life with the way I handle and treat people. So teaching someone else to be gentle is a good reminder of myself, right, to be gentle as well. Um, and then I have a couple other leaders where my focus on them is being assertive. That if they run into resistance, they tend to just not do anything, or they tend to back off. And getting them to not back off and to actually continue to push for what needs to happen is actually the challenge there. So empowering others, right, means different things. But most of all, it means understanding in the first place what they need. You got to care enough about your people to understand what their needs are. And this goes with families as well, right? So, with my wife, she's, you know, um, she's not the hey, bring me home flowers type of person all the time. That's going to make her happy. Not saying I shouldn't do that, and I do sometimes, but it means 100 times more for her if I go out and get her like a one of those taro boba thingies that they like drink. She likes drinking. So you know what I mean. Like if I go pick her up a taro boba, she's excited. Food is her love language, man. So if I can bring her home something to eat, she feels very encouraged, right? She feels very happy. She's excited to get work done and to help me out, right? And I'm empowering her. I'm building her up. I'm making her feel loved, and I'm making her feel wanted. With my kids, um, you know, many times I have four boys. Um, it's all the same for them. They want to feel like a man. They want to feel like they're maturing, that they're growing up. They want to hear that I'm proud of them. They want to hear that words of affirmation, right, are very important to them. And that's really tough because they're teenagers, and a lot of times I'm not really proud of them. A lot of times they're making me mad, like they're annoying, and um, but I need to find the good things they're doing, and I need to let them know every time I can find even the smallest good thing that my teenagers are doing. I need to bring that up and lift them up and make them feel empowered, make them feel appreciated. And if I do that, they're going to be their best and I'm going to get the most out of them, right? It's a symbiotic relationship. So why does this matter? Okay? In business, teams thrive when leaders serve. Okay? That is the biggest part of it. Your team will thrive when you're serving, right? When you're trying to control your team, they're gonna die. And they're not going to work hard. They're going to slack off. It's going to be tough. But when you're serving your team, it's like paying it forward. You serve your people, they will serve your customers. And that is a incredible relationship. If you're serving them, they're serving your customers. Your customers are always going to be happy and your business is going to grow, okay? And family, strong relationships are built on selflessness. If you're constantly demanding, right? You don't have any, let's just say, money in the love bank because you're always asking from everyone. It's going to get tense. It's going to get hard. Um, but if you're constantly building that relationship with selflessness, thinking of their needs first, you're going to have strong family ties. Not saying you won't have your fights, but man, you're going to have a strong family and a family that loves each other. And in faith, servant leadership reflects Christ. So if you want to let people know that you're a Christian, it's not with a bumper sticker saying I serve Jesus, or hey, or this funny ones, not perfect but I'm forgiving, why they're flicking you off driving by you in their car. That's just, it's a terrible example of being a Christian. But um, you know, you let people know you're a Christian before you ever say a word, simply by being a servant leader. When they see you thinking of their needs, they're going to wonder, they're going to see Christ in you. And that is the best way to reach out to people, is not by Bible thumping and telling them they're wrong, pushing your ways, your agendas, or having stupid bumper stickers. It's going to be that you are a servant and they see it and they go, why is that person like that? Why is that guy or why is that girl like that? Man, they are amazing. What made them this way? It's because you're reflecting Christ when you act like that. So this week, find one way to learn by serving. That's going to be my challenge. And whether at work, whether at home, whether at church, in community, let's find a way to serve. Let's find a way to figure out what people need around us. Let's just start with the people we care about. How about that? The people you care most about, let's think about them in some way we typically don't, and let's do something incredible for them and start that pathway to being a permanent servant leader in every area of your life. So thank you for tuning in this week. And if you're listening to a podcast, please follow along. If you're on the YouTube, then like, share, and let's go on this adventure together and grow together. Be blessed.